Chapter 536 The Eastern Sun Falls. This was, in fact, the northernmost part of the northern area, even though it was not as cold as the extreme north ice field. It was way colder than anywhere else. Also, the ice sea was just outside of Eastern Sun City. There was plenty of water in the ice sea, so there would not be any problem with the water element here. When Huo Yuao first came here, he predicted that his power should increase by at least 20% here. When Tang Wutong was shielding the blows for him, Huo Yuao had already used his spiritual detection to scan the battlefield. He now had a complete picture of the battlefield, and had already established contact with EK2. Everything was under control. After confirming that no other accidents would happen, he naturally would not go light on the enemy as he unleashed his true fighting power. After returning to Huo Yuao's side, Tang Wutong opened up her butterfly wings and protected his back. This time around, Huo Yuao was at the front, and Tang Wutong was like a little bird as she hugged his waist from the back. If Tang Wutong's seal were to act up now, it would truly be a tragedy. However, she had long thought of this. Because she was wearing the dragon god armor, her body would not come into direct contact with Huo Yuao. This meant that the seal would naturally not act up. Huo Yuao's eyes turned an ice blue color as he faced the avenging spirits that were swarming towards him. Even though he was just standing there calmly, those spirits were unable to get near him and Tang Wutong. They were stuck outside of a 5-meter radius around the couple. As Huo Yuao unleashed the snowy dance of ultimate ice, the entire area where the soul tools were installed started to experience a plunge in temperature. Because this area had activated their linked defense system, the cold air was trapped inside. Hence, the rate at which the temperature was dropping was faster than usual. The soul engineers who were trying to put up a struggle experienced a huge drop in their fighting power because of the extreme cold. Even though Ji Juiken and the others would also be affected by the cold, they were much stronger, and thus were not affected as much as the soul engineers. At this very instant, a loud cry could be heard, following which, a pure white figure dashed out from the corner of the soul tool formation. Even though the avenging spirits were spirits, they were also similar to packets of energy, and were affected by the extremely low temperature. Their flying speed and fighting power were also heavily reduced. After this streak of white light emerged, the neighboring avenging spirits let out a deafening scream as they scrambled away from the white light in fear. As long as they came into contact with the white light, the avenging spirit would disintegrate. There was no chance for them to withstand the power of the white light. The myriad soul domain no longer had any positive effects on them. As the pure white figure floated in midair, a pair of white wings opened up behind her back. The figure was wielding a white sword in her hands. She was none other than Yu Yi, the cultivator with the holy angel martial soul. After controlling the situation, the next thing Huo Yuao wanted to do was maximize profits. He not only wanted to make sure he maximized the number of spoils he could take away from this area, but he also wanted his peers to maximize what they could take away for themselves. Beyond acquiring soul tools and resources here, the one who could stand to gain the most among the Tang Sect was Yu Yi, the cultivator who was the natural enemy of evil soul masters. Because she possessed the holy angel martial soul, she was able to improve her cultivation from killing evil soul masters and destroying their abilities. The myriad soul Douluo's myriad soul banner contained so many avenging spirits. If Yu Yi were to cleanse and purify all of them, her cultivation would take a huge leap forward. This was why he did not immediately kill the two titled Douluo evil soul masters. He merely unleashed his domain and competed against them with it. He only wanted to trap the myriad soul Douluo to give Yu Yi a chance to kill him. The avenging spirits had no chance against Yu Yi as they disintegrated like the grass against a fire. All the avenging spirits were purified by her holy light. During the purification process, the pure energy released flowed into Yu Yi's body and continually improved her cultivation. This was her first time fighting against evil soul masters since joining the Tang Sect. On top of that, the evil soul master she was facing was a titled Douluo. With her current ability, she would not have been able to subdue a titled Douluo even if she was his or her natural enemy. After all, as a soul sage, she was a lot weaker than a soul Douluo. However, with the help of Huo Yuao, Tang Wutong, and Erbai, the odds were actually in her favor. As she waved the holy sword in her hand, she was almost invincible. As she flickered across the sky, a large amount of avenging spirits were vanquished, and the leftover spirits scattered in fear. A deafening howl roared through the air. It was the myriad soul Douluo screaming in pain. How could he not be anguished by the death of the spirits he had painstakingly accumulated in his myriad soul banner? Not every dead person would produce an avenging spirit. Avenging spirits could only be formed from the death of a person or a beast with immense hatred, and the odds of that were 1 in 10. The myriad soul Douluo was only able to cultivate to his current level because of the blood and sweat he had shed to accumulate the avenging spirits in his myriad soul banner. He had been staying at Eastern Sun City to target aquatic soul beasts, so as to acquire their avenging spirits. This was because the avenging spirits formed from the bodies of the aquatic soul beasts were a great fit for his martial soul. Because of how Yu Yi had rampaged around, the myriad soul Douluo had lost over 100 avenging spirits. The spirits were completely purified and had no chance of reviving. As the number of avenging spirits in his banner decreased, his powers waned. Even though he had over 1,000 avenging spirits, he could not sustain this rate of losses for long. After shouting in pain, the myriad soul Douluo increased the power of his myriad soul banner. He steered his avenging spirits away from Yu Yi and towards the other people, leaving gusts of wind buffeting against her. However, Yu Yi was not fighting alone. While she might not be strong enough to fight the myriad soul Douluo alone, she had the help of Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong. Huo Yuao leaned slightly backwards, and a powerful light was released from both his body and Tang Wutong's. A large eye, the eye of the Asura, appeared. A radiant dragon god's butterfly danced around the eye, following which countless tiny black hammers were projected at the speed of light in all directions. Mantra amidst the void, spiritual tempest. Spiritual tempest was the combination of the spirit eyes and the clear sky hammer. It forged and strengthened Huo Yuao's immensely powerful spiritual power before releasing it as a devastating blow. Martial soul fusion skill. It was a skill which was powerful enough to go up against a technique from a transcendent Douluo. Back when they were facing more than 10 titled Douluo, Tang Wutong and Huo Yuao had managed to burst through their containment with this skill. The two evil soul masters would probably have no chance against it. The spiritual tempest avoided their own people in a delicate fashion and attempted to expand its range to envelop their enemies. The abomination Douluo, myriad soul Douluo, and the avenging spirits released from the myriad soul banner were all enveloped within the spiritual tempest. This was truly a full power attack released by both Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong. Instantly, the avenging spirits that were flying clear of Yu Yi found themselves frozen in midair. Their spiritual fire was solidified and frozen under the effects of spiritual tempest. Normally, the tempest would have destroyed a large number of the avenging spirits. However, Huo Yuao was able to use his exceptional control to control the power of the tempest to create an advantage for Yu Yi. The myriad soul Douluo and abomination Douluo both let out a groan. The myriad soul domain was also destroyed at that instant. Even if the two of them were to go up against Tang Wutong one-on-one, they would still find it hard to beat her. Furthermore, they were actually going up against a skill released by both Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong. Hence, it took only a short while before the outcome of the battle was decided. The biggest winner was naturally Yu Yi. As she spread out the wings behind her back, she flickered across the sky like a bolt of lightning. Large numbers of avenging spirits were purified wherever her holy sword landed. As the winds of spiritual tempest blew through the area, Yu Yi cleaned up after them. The avenging spirits that were hit by spiritual tempest and the snowy dance of ultimate ice could not dodge or defend themselves against Yu Yi. They could only wait for their vengeance to be purified. The myriad soul domain might be extremely powerful in the eyes of an average soul master. It could not only release tens of thousands of avenging spirits, but also enhance their power exponentially. However, as strong as this skill might be, it would only work in Yu Yi's favor. Huo Yuao could sense with his spiritual detection that Yu Yi's cultivation was shooting up at an insane rate. This could only be a result of the strength of the opponent she was facing. She was going up against a titled Douluo evil soul master. In addition, he was the kind of soul master who accumulated avenging spirits. He was the perfect target for her to improve her cultivation. Over the past few years, Yu Yi had never used such a method to improve her cultivation. Her foundation had always been solid and stable. Hence, this was a golden opportunity for her to consume the power of a titled Douluo. It was impossible for her abilities to not improve. As her cultivation improved, the holy light she was emanating became stronger. After being caught in the spiritual tempest, the myriad soul Douluo took 7 to 8 seconds before he regained his composure from his shock. But when he finally became calm again, he realized he had already come out of his martial soul true body. His myriad soul banner's color had become a lot fainter, and only the most powerful avenging spirits were left around him. As for the abomination Douluo, he was already pinned down by Erbai. His back had been crushed, and a thick layer of dense ice had formed on his body. How could he stand a chance against Erbai after suffering from the spiritual tempest? This was like fighting a battle against a combination of a transcendent Douluo who specialized in spiritual control and a transcendent Douluo who specialized in assault. Even an evil soul master could not withstand such blows. However, Erbai did not continue and kill the abomination Douluo. Huo Yuao had obviously ordered Erbai to pin him down, but not kill him. The myriad soul Douluo knew the battle was over. There was no point in him trying to fight a losing battle. As his figure figure flickered, he sent the remaining avenging spirits around him on a final onslaught. The mermaid avenging spirit released a series of loud howls as its powerful spiritual attack rippled from its body. To protect his life, the myriad soul Douluo knew he had to sacrifice his avenging spirits to escape. He could always replenish his avenging spirits if they were to die, but if he were to lose his life, it would be the end for him. His reactions were extremely quick, but why would Huo Yuan not have thought of restraining him? He would not have left him there alone if he didn't have the ability to control the situation. Just as the myriad soul Douluo was retreating, he suddenly saw a strange eye in front of him. The humongous eye released a purplish gold flash before his eyes, following which, the myriad soul Douluo felt as if a hammer which could have split the earth hit his head. After releasing a loud groan, his retreating body lost control and collapsed to the ground with a loud thud. It was a spiritual shock from the martial soul true body version of the Eye of the Asura. The frighteningly powerful spiritual attack ensured the destruction of the myriad soul Douluo's spiritual sea. Because of the huge loss of his avenging spirits, the myriad soul Douluo had already suffered a drop in his cultivation. After sustaining this blow, he immediately lost consciousness. The pure white holy light instantly transformed into a sharp sword which descended from the sky as though it was about to judge the evil beneath it. The sword stabbed straight into the chest of the myriad soul Douluo, following which, Yigi's body split from the holy sword. Afterwards, one could see copious amounts of great energy current surging out from the chest of the myriad soul Douluo. While he was screaming in pain, he was unable to budge because he was pinned down by the holy sword. The four wings behind Yigi's black glistened like white jade as golden streaks of energy raced into her body from the hilt of the holy sword. Tonight's battle was definitely a night full of rewards for this soul sage. The myriad soul Douluo struggled for close to a minute before relenting. Finally, he transformed into black ash under the holy sword before vanishing. After breaking free from their master's control, the remaining avenging spirits in the air were about to disperse and escape before they were stopped by Huo Yuao's spiritual power. Yigi immediately turned around to continue her attack. She took close to 15 minutes before she was able to purify the bulk of the avenging spirits. Among the avenging spirits, about a third of them were human. The rest of them were from soul beasts. While some of them were from the land, most of them were aquatic soul beasts. In the end, Huo Yuao asked Yigi to spare the mermaid avenging spirit. The spirit was putting up a fierce struggle against Huo Yuao's spiritual interference domain. Its once beautiful face was now twisted by rage and hatred. Huo Yuao let out a long sigh before chanting a purification spell. Huo Yuao's purification was a level above Yigi's because he himself had inherited the power from Electrolux. A white light shone down from the skies and onto the mermaid avenging spirit. At that very instant, the spirit stopped struggling as streams of black energy current separated from its soul. The hatred and anger which were written all over its face started to slowly disappear. Gradually, all that remained on its face was melancholy. Huo Yuao released his spiritual power and attempted to establish contact with the mermaid. However, the mermaid spirit merely looked at him as it gently shook its head. Its eyes were brimming with sadness, but one could tell that it was a kind of sadness which one possessed after coming to terms with one's predicament. The mermaid nodded gently before opening her mouth to sing a melody. At this moment, the battle within the city had ended. Bei Bei, Shu Sanchi and Ji Durkin were all coming back from different directions. However, they all heard the mermaid spirit singing. Her singing was beautiful, but sorrowful. It sounded as though she was sobbing as she shared her tragic story of being captured by the evil soul master through her song. Her spirit started to release spots of white light during her singing. As her voice became brighter, her body started to become fainter. Huo Yuao sighed. After all, she had already become an avenging spirit. Even if he were to help her remove her vengeance, she was still unwilling to communicate with him. Nonetheless, her soul was purified, and she must be feeling a lot better now. The mermaid's singing lasted for a couple of minutes before diminishing to silence. As the last note was sung, everyone's eyes were brimming with tears. This mermaid spirit was particularly skilled in spiritual power. She was one of the strongest avenging spirits that the myriad soul Douluo had possessed. Now, during her last song, she was able to move everyone present. The mermaid's faint spiritual image turned around to face Huo Yuao before bowing before him, as though she wanted to thank him for his help. Following which, a pale blue glow started to fly towards him. Once the glow started to move towards him, the spirit disintegrated into tiny white particles that vanished into thin air. Huo Yuao could sense the kindness from the mermaid spirit and extended his hand to receive the blue light. To his surprise, the blue light went through his palm before landing on his body. As the blue light enveloped him, Huo Yuao felt as though he had been rinsed by warm water. He felt particularly refreshed, but nothing else other than that. Huo Yuao was confident that he would be able to detect any problems with his powerful spiritual energy if there were any. But from the way things looked, there didn't seem to be any problem with the gift from the mermaid spirit. The abomination Douluo, who was temporarily spared by Erbai, was naturally Huo Yuao's gift to Yigi. Without hesitating, Yigi moved over to finish him off with her holy sword. The deaths of different evil soul masters gave her different degrees of improvement. Even though she gained a lot from the death of the abomination Douluo, the power she gained was a lot less than what she had received from the myriad soul Douluo. After putting her holy sword away, Yigi realized the holy fire that was burning around her body was almost beyond her control. Even Erbai refused to be in close proximity to her. Thank you. Yigi thanked Huo Yuao before walking straight to the spectral gate behind him. She had purified far too many avenging spirits, and her body was bursting with purified energy. She needed to train immediately to digest this energy, or it would be wasted. The battle on the walls of the city was nearing its end. Under the combined attack of 200 soul engineers, each at least a soul emperor, the resistance above the walls of the city was destroyed in no time. Even though they had tried to retaliate with their linked soul tools, which were controlled by 50 soul masters, their attack was very feeble. Considering how they had to defend at the same time, they simply could not breach the linked defense set up by the Tang Sect Soul Engineer Legion. The linked defense on the city wall was destroyed by the furious attacks of the Tang Sect Soul Engineer Legion. However, Hikaitu was saddened to see so many soul tools destroyed in the battle. They were all precious soul tools which were very valuable. The large commotion at the city walls naturally attracted the attention of Eastern Sun City Defense Army as they gravitated towards the walls. However, it was apparent that they would be of not much use. The Tang Sect Soul Engineer Legion spread out in the air as they fired at the main road which led to the city walls. The series of shots completely cut off the road the army was about to take to provide reinforcement to the walls without taking too many lives. Otherwise, it would just be a one-sided massacre if the army were to actually come into direct conflict with the Soul Engineer Legion. Bei Bei moved towards Huo Yuao and said, "Who would have known that there would be two evil titled Douluo? Fortunately, we had the two of you to take them down." Even though he was mainly expressing his gratitude towards Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong, he was also expressing his amazement at the current strength of the Tang Sect. Even though he hadn't managed to witness the full battle earlier, he could tell that Tang Wutong and Huo Yuao had won the battle fairly easily from their composed expressions. The two of them were authentic titled Douluo, and yet they could not put up a fight against Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong. In fact, Huo Yuao was even able to control the situation and allow Yigi to improve her cultivation. Compared to the battle at Oak City, which had a few unexpected incidents, things went pretty smoothly this time. This exemplified how strong the Tang Sect had become. After the past few battles, everyone, including Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong, had a brand new understanding of their own abilities. Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong could probably put up a fight against the Heavenly Sun Douluo, who was a rank 97 transcendent Douluo. The advantage of using martial soul fusion skills on their top-class martial souls was becoming increasingly apparent as Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong became stronger. At the same time, the gap between them and their peers was also becoming larger. Without the Kayankin fortune pills, the gap between them would probably have been larger. Senior brother, clear up the battlefield. Huo Yuao ordered Hikaitu. This was Hikaitu's favorite part of the battle, following which, Huo Yuao first located the equipment which was connected to the nearby aerial surveillance soul tools before shutting the surveillance soul tools down and bringing them in. Afterwards, he chanted his incantations to open a spectral gate and release the remaining two legions. Of course, the soul engineers came out of the spectral demiplane without their soul tools. After all, the dismantling work only required human labor. The battle at Eastern Sun City was different from the one back at the Mingdo mountain range. Here, at the biggest city in the northern region of the Sun Moon Empire, Huo Yuao and the others did not have to flee right after they attacked as they did at the Mingdo mountain range. Even if news of their attack spread to other troops, it would take a long time for reinforcements to arrive. Thus, they could plunder the city at will. Hikaitu led the way as he dismantled every single possible soul tool in the area and brought them back into the spectral demiplane. In fact, he even led the soul engineers to the top of the city wall to scavenge scavenge rare metal bits from the ruins. The sky had started to turn bright by the time they had finished dismantling and packing everything up. The troops who were planning to attack Huo Yuao and the others were also fairly rational. They knew they were unable to compete against the Soul Engineer legions, and hence they merely surrounded the area while they waited patiently for the reinforcements they had called for. The mission was not over after clearing the area of any remaining soul tools. It was now the Tang Sect Soul Engineer legions' turn to perform. Eastern Sun City's 7 storehouses were plundered by the legions as they transported large amounts of resources, especially food, into the spectral demiplane. While Oak City was already considered a huge granary, it was nothing compared to Eastern Sun City. If the food in Oak City was to be compared to a small mountain, the food in Eastern Sun City could be an entire mountain range. In fact, the granary in Eastern Sun City had several special products from the IC, such as the skin of aquatic soul beasts, etc. There were plenty of resources and money for the legions to plunder. It was only in the afternoon on the next day when the plundering operation ended. The 30,000 soldiers were pinned down near the northern city gate by the Fort Soul Engineer Legion until the entire operation ended. Afterwards, the Fort Soul Engineer Legion left the city and headed north. This operation affected more than just Eastern Sun City. It affected the entire northern region of the Sun Moon Empire. The newly acquired resources had exceeded the 2 storehouses built within the spectral demiplane. They had no choice but to erect another 2 additional storehouses to contain them. Right from the beginning of their mission, Huo Yuao had never told the 3 legions to bring many rations. Their strategy was to fuel the next fight with their plunder from the previous fight. The rations which they had plundered from these 2 cities was already sufficient for them to survive for 3 to 5 years without any worries. The group of cultivators from the Tang Sect gathered on top of a small knoll in the spectral demiplane. Huo Yuao sighed and said, "It seems like we have underestimated the Sun Moon Empire. What do you mean?" Zhang Nanan asked curiously. Huo Yuao said, "Actually, our initial predictions were correct. The number of troops stationed in the northern part of the Sun Moon Empire was actually very limited. In fact, they were not viewed with much importance. Nonetheless, we still faced relatively strong resistance from them. If we had not planned for an unprepared foe, we might not have won so easily, especially with the number of soul tools they had. Hence, we must be extra careful with our subsequent operations. Also, after our 2 victories, I am certain the Sun Moon Empire will be responding with some sort of plan. Thus, we must be even more unpredictable with our next move in order to achieve the best effect." Bei Bei nodded and said, "Yuao is correct. Our biggest advantage is this spectral demiplane. We are only able to move faster than any other troops because of it. In fact, we can probably appear at any corner of the continent within 3 days. Even if we can only launch a single shell at the enemy and flee, we can still achieve our objective. We must remember to not get entangled in a battle with our enemies. Yuao, didn't you want to take a walk in the IC?" Huo Yuao nodded and said, "Yes, I'm about to go and take a look. Hopefully, I will be able to leave with some takeaways. In the meantime, I need everyone to remain in the spectral demiplane. Regardless of the outcome of my trip to the IC, I will immediately head to the southern parts of the Sun Moon Empire. By shifting our attack from the north to the south, they will be completely lost as to where exactly we plan to strike. This will be a perfect way to cause panic in their backlines." Shu Sanqi frowned and said, "But the problem is that we don't really know how we're doing at the front lines. If we can find out what's going on there, we might be able to strike at the Sun Moon Empire more effectively." Bei Bei replied, "We shouldn't be too greedy about these things. It's already incredible for us to achieve what we have done. At least for now, the entire northern part of the Sun Moon Empire is a mess because of the food shortage we've created. The Sun Moon Empire must devote resources and attention to solving this problem. At the same time, they will have to try and uncover our tracks. I am sure this will help our friends at the front line. Once we expand the range of our operations, I am certain that the Sun Moon Empire will become even more chaotic, and when that happens, they will have no choice but to retreat." Shu Sanqi asked, "Little junior brother, do you need me to follow you to the IC? I'm better with water. Judging from the camp the Sun Moon Empire had set up here, the aquatic soul beasts in the IC might cause you some problems. You need to be careful." Huo Yuao replied, "You can rest assured, senior brother. Even in the worst case scenario, Wutong and I should be able to retreat safely. Don't forget, I have an ultimate ice martial soul. I do have a big advantage up here in the extreme north. If I need any help, I will summon all of you." Shu Sanqi did not bug Yuao any longer. After all, Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong were already a level above them in terms of fighting ability. Ji Juogen, who had been keeping quiet at the side, suddenly asked, "Yuao, when can we spar?" He had finally asked the question that had been on his mind for the longest period of time. Just now during the battle, he did not face any formidable foes, but saw how Huo Yuao was able to play around with the 2 evil soul masters. As a sparring maniac, how could he resist the temptation to ask Huo Yuao to spar with him? Huo Yuao looked at him helplessly before replying, "Brother Ji, let's talk about it some other time. For now, can I get everyone to go and get some rest? We will head to the IC after finishing our preparations." He did not want to spar with Ji Juogen now. Ji Juogen's sword intent was no joke. Even if he were confident in his abilities, he still had to put in 100% in order to beat Ji Juogen. Huo Yuao did not want to waste energy on sparring right now. He still had plenty of work to do. Ji Juogen frowned as he looked towards the other people around him. Immediately, Bei Bei walked away and sat down before beginning his meditation. Shu Sanqi looked up at the sky as he whistled and strolled away with Zhang Nanan. Hikaiju smiled awkwardly at Ji Juogen before saying, "Don't look at me. I'm a soul engineer, so I won't be a good sparring partner for you. Actually, Yi should be a good partner. Her cultivation must have improved a lot after the previous battle. Why don't you spar with her once she's done with digesting the newly acquired energy?" Yi was currently cultivating in the storehouse, and soul engineers had been stationed there to protect her. Ji Juogen sighed in despair. Why is it so hard to find someone to spar with? Everyone was now avoiding him. He improved the most from finding inspiration in his sparring or battles with strong opponents. It was not sufficient for him to train alone. No one desired a strong opponent more than him. Then, someone whom no one had expected stood up. "Why don't I give it a try?" The voice was tender, but one could still detect a tinge of competitiveness in it. Ji Juogen turned around, and was surprised to find out who had accepted his challenge. The voice belonged to a female, but the person was not Tang Wutong, the strongest female soul master among them. She was also neither Zhang Nanan nor Yu Yi. The person was also not Nan Qiuqiu, who was getting ready to watch the performance before her eyes. She was none other than Xia Xiao, the one among Shrek's 7 monsters who rarely showed her abilities. Yes, the person who stood up and agreed to spar with Ji Juogen was none other than Xia Xiao. The first person who expressed his shock was Hikaiju. He frantically asked, "Xia Xiao, what are you doing? Are you crazy? How could you challenge Juogen? His sword intent is not something he can control properly." Xia Xiao glared angrily at him and said, "Why do you have such little confidence in me? Or are you just a chauvinist by heart?" Hikaiju was lost for words after hearing her words. He was simply too doting towards her. Even though he might be really busy all the time, he was never stingy on the care and affection he had shown for Xia Xiao. This also resulted in a lack of opportunities for Xia Xiao to get her hands dirty. The truth was that even though Xia Xiao gave off the vibes of a little girl, especially among Shrek's 7 monsters, she was actually a little older than Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong. In fact, the 3 of them had won the freshman competition together when they had just entered Shrek Academy. Subsequently, she once again showed her abilities in the Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament. But after that time, Xia Xiao rarely had the opportunity to spar and showcase her abilities. Even Hikaiju did not know exactly how strong she had become. Ji Juogen stared at Xia Xiao, but he did not belittle her because of her size. Instead, his eyes showed the respect and wariness he had for any challenger. Xia Xiao stood there plainly, but did not seem to reveal any flaws in her stance. Zhu Jiqin was an expert at finding flaws in an enemy's stance. Once the enemy revealed a flaw, he or she would face the wrath of his torrential attacks. However, Xia Xiao seemed to have blended in with her surroundings. She was simply not exhibiting any flaws at all. Xia Xiao stared at Ji Juogen before announcing, "Brother Ji, can I challenge you?" Ji Juogen hesitated a while before looking at Huo Yuao, who was standing by the side. Huo Yuao nodded without any hesitation. While the others might belittle Xia Xiao, Huo Yuao would never do so. A year ago, Xia Xiao had already gained her own spirit with Huo Yuao's help. Besides, Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong would never forget her true abilities. Huo Yuao was not the only control system soul master among the new generation of Shrek's 7 monsters. Xia Xiao was the other one. However, she had taken a different path from Huo Yuao. Huo Yuao had chosen to focus on controlling and attacking, whereas Xia Xiao chose to dedicate her training to controlling and defending. The rationale for these 2 different focuses was because of Huo Yuao's twin martial souls. His spirit eyes would focus on controlling, while the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion would focus on attacking. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.